Hey guys, it's Nicole and welcome to our first video of a new series that we're going to be putting out each week, answering your troubleshooting questions on the channel. I feel that answering your questions in this format is going to be very valuable to others because if you have that question, it's probably likely that many more people have that question. So let's start with our first question. I get this all the time and it's, can I use meringue powder instead of egg white powder in your macaron recipe? And the answer is no. I do not recommend using meringue powder in your macaron recipe. Meringue powder has a lot of additives in it, whereas egg white powder is 100% pure dried egg whites. And that's gonna add protein into your meringue and kind of take the place of aging your egg whites. Whereas meringue powder is going to make your shells brittle in the end and doesn't give that nice bite that you want either. It's gonna make it drier because of all those additives that are in it. So please, if you can't find egg white powder, don't replace it with meringue powder. Just leave it out completely and you'll have better luck. The second question I'm gonna go over today is, can I double your macaron recipe? The answer is yes. You can double the recipe, you can triple the recipe, you can half the recipe, but the thing is you're gonna have to watch out for, if you double or triple the recipe, you're gonna have to make sure that in your environment, the resting shells are gonna be able to do okay. The longer you rest your macaron shells with this recipe, sometimes they can get brittle on top. So in every environment, it's gonna be different and you're gonna have to test out how long you can let your macaron shells dry for. So you could make a small batch so you're not wasting a ton of macaron batter and pipe a few on a ton of trays and see how well your first tray does relative to your last tray that's an hour later, and that will give you a great indication of how big of a batch you can make in your own kitchen. My other thing I want to note is if you half this recipe that's on my 101 macaron video, I recommend either doing the drop whisk method, so that's when you don't lock your whisk into place and it brings it down a little bit to really mix your egg whites, or to use a hand mixer, because when you have a little amount of egg whites in your mixer, you want to make sure that you are efficiently whipping your meringue, because if it's taking 30 minutes to whip your meringue, there's a good chance that it's going to start breaking down and not be super sturdy. So if you're doing less than 100 grams of egg whites in your bowl, I recommend using a hand mixer or using a drop whisk method. And lastly, I wanted to clarify that my base recipe is written out in my Macaron 101 video. If you go to that video, go down below to the description and it's written out fully. In the actual video, I was making a larger batch. Ignore those numbers that I said and go to the description, and that will give you the base recipe that you can either double or half or whatever you need for your specific needs. That's it for this episode. Stay tuned for more troubleshooting questions answered. Troubleshooting.
Troubleshooting question.
And that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for more questions answered. Should I say? Stay tuned for more.
I thought we were calling it 2-minute troubleshooting.
Yeah. And that's it for this video. Stay tuned for more 2-minute troubleshooting answered. And that's it for this video. Stay tuned for another weekly episode of Troubleshooting Tuesday. 2-minute Troubleshooting Tuesday. Whatever we want to call it. It's going to be a little longer sometimes, or shorter. But we're going to call it 2 minutes. That's it for this video on Troubleshooting Tuesday. Stay tuned for next week. Peace. Do you think one of those works?